All right, everyone, welcome to the first Letting Go class of 2023. As always, make sure you grab a glass of water. Water ensures efficient electrical and chemical actions between the brain, the nervous system, and the sensory organs. Why is it important to drink water when we do a meditation or mindfulness exercises? Because the brain is an electrical organ and it can't think without water because water carries electricity. And when we're doing meditation or mindfulness, it's actually really deep thinking work. We're actually really relying on those neurons and pattern systems and thought patterns in our brain. So we need to give our brain everything it can to be efficient and to be at its optimum for us. All right, let's do our check-in activity, everybody. Let me know in that chat box. Give me one word or maybe a sentence or maybe a phrase about how you're feeling coming into today's call. And remember, we always do that check-in so that we can do the checkout at the end because we need to acknowledge the work that we do. And just by having a present thought with ourselves, with our inner monologue, or a quick one word check-in, we're actually giving ourselves a serotonin boost by acknowledging the work we do, because sometimes we can't feel the personal growth work we've done. We can feel it when it's a workout, right? We know we're sweating hard, we're breathing hard, but we have to actually consciously acknowledge the work that we do. That's not that tangible stuff. All right, how are we feeling today? Tired, happy, ready, relaxed, a bit lazy, a bit sad, present, chilly and tired, excited, pensive. Okay, we've got a good variety today. All right, so we'll see how we feel by the end of the class. And if you're feeling tired and you fall asleep, don't worry, that's okay. Your brain will still hear me. All right, here's our quote corner for today, everybody. It's the strength of observation and reflection that one finds a way. So we must dig and delve unceasingly. Let me say that one again. It's the strength of observation and reflection that one finds a way. So we must dig and delve unceasingly. And that's Claude Monet. And I think you hear me say this a lot. I talk about small and slow solutions, but I also like to observe before I interact in life. It's a good kind of principle to follow. And I personally don't think we observe or reflect enough. We as a species and as a culture are all about, I call it forward motioning, looking to the future all the time. What's next? What's next? What's next? But we need to actually observe and then reflect on what we're observing, whether it's about ourselves, whether it's about others, whether it's about the world around us. And reflection can help us find a way or help us to understand at a greater level or a greater depth of what's going on around us or going on for us. So I actually really love this quote, and I just found it recently, and I really connected to it. And that's a little bit of what our theme is for today. Okay, so as a review, everyone, why is it important to practice letting go? Because personal energy is something that we carry with us. We can feel heavy or we can feel light. I like to use heavy or light instead of positive or negative. We can spread that energy to other people, and humans and animals can feel it, and it can have a profound effect on us. It can affect our whole day. It can affect a whole week. Right? So have you ever met someone that or when you see them, you instantly feel heavy or down? Saturday Night Live used to have a skit. It was called Debbie Downer. I don't know if anyone remembers that skit. And she would they'd be having a happy moment and she'd just bring in some heavy thing to say, right? Or maybe there's somebody that brings you up. If you're going to talk to them, that you're going to feel better afterwards. Or a community, right? Maybe, you're feeling heavy and you come to brain fitness class or a fitness in 15 class. And by the end of the class, you know that your energy and your vibration is going to be higher and raised up. And we aren't all perfect, everybody. Nobody's perfect. So we have all been the heavy person at one point in time, and we've all been the light, joyous, happy person at one time too. So part of observing and reflecting is noticing if we're the heavy person in the room or if we're the light person in the room, and what to do with that. And of course, we're here to prevent discharging. We want to be releasing, which is what we do in letting go class, versus discharging. And discharging is when we can't control all of those emotions that we've pushed down or avoided, and they come out in uncontrollable ways, like yelling at someone. They might come out physically in our body. We might trip and hurt ourselves. We might cry. We might make a mistake, like break a dish, right? That's all forms of discharging when we can't control it, but things come out. And if you're able to practice letting go or releasing in a routine way, you'll find that you suffer less from stress, emotional ties to the past or the future, irritation with others. That's a big one for me, I'll admit it. Struggles with loss, and also fear, struggles with fear. And I also say the habit of fear-based decision making. So making a decision based on what if and thinking about the worst case scenario. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit, I'm going to do a little review about tragic optimism and toxic positivity, and then we are going to do a reflection exercise. Sorry, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. You're going to want a piece of paper and a pen today. We're going to do a reflection exercise. So maybe I'll give you a quick second to go grab a piece of paper and pen if you don't have one yet while I take a sip here. And because it's the first class of 2023, we're going to do a little reflection exercise about 2022. So grab that pen and paper if you want, or colored markers, or whatever you want to write with. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to go over the idea of tragic optimism and toxic positivity, because this can be a time of year where both come into play. So tragic optimism is an idea that was created by an Austrian psychologist and Holocaust survivor. Before we understand what tragic optimism is, let's have a little refresh here on toxic positivity. So toxic positivity is defined, and if you have any thoughts on this, I'm interested to see, write it in the chat box. Toxic positivity is defined as the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of words. Here's what I say toxic positivity is. A saying that many of us have heard. There's two kind of sayings. Good vibes only. Who's heard that one? Good vibes only. Only good vibes only are allowed in here. People have t-shirts that say good vibes only, right? Or positive thinking all the time. I only think positively, right? So toxic positivity, what that actually does is it results in the denial or minimization or invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. It compels us to pretend that heartache and suffering don't exist. That's really the consequence of being in that practice. And I'm talking about this today because I want you to be wary. If you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, there is a lot of advertising this year that's 5-day challenge to manifest your dreams, 10-day challenge to manifest this, how to be more positive. There's a lot of that out there, right? This time of year. Just be wary, because we can disconnect from ourselves if we practice positivity and use it as a tool to ignore how we're really feeling. Because the human experience is about feeling all the feelings. Now, we want to feel the higher vibration, or the lighter emotions more often, right? We don't want to be feeling heavy emotions 80% of the time and lighter emotions 20% of the time. But we need to find the balance that works for us. We want the heavy emotions to be under 50%, let's say, but let's make it 49 or 48%. We don't want the heavy emotions to be 0% in our balance, right? So you can decide what your rule is. Has anybody ever heard of the 80-20 rule or the 60-40 rule? Or you could say it's the 49-51% rule, okay? but we need to feel those heavier emotions, or else we'd never appreciate the lighter ones. We wouldn't know what love is if we didn't feel loss, right? We wouldn't value love if we didn't feel loss. Okay, so what is tragic optimism? Tragic optimism is kind of the opposite of toxic positivity. Tragic optimism allows you to acknowledge the power of hope, even when amid deep sorrow. So, tragic optimism is the search for meaning amid the inevitable tragedies of the human existence. And I think that's far more practical and realistic. It's a far more practical and realistic way to live our lives, not just during trying times, but hope is powerful. Hope is powerful. And I think hope is more powerful than pretending to be positive and happy all the time. Hope is powerful. It's not the traumatic event, or we can take out the word traumatic here, the difficult events, the challenging times, the times where we feel heavy or low, all of those kind of are bunched in here. It's not actually the event that leads to growth, but it's how we process it, how it changes our worldview as a result of what we've lived, of our lived experience. And it's the active search for meaning that people undertake during and after the challenging times. And if we can process and observe and reflect before we interact, we grow. We grow our relationships. We grow our relationship with ourselves. We grow our relationships with others. We might change our habits. We might change our perspectives to one that works for us better. So just as an example, researchers who study, and I want to say this, post-traumatic growth. So not post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? Post-traumatic growth, I want you to hear that term, have found that people can grow in many ways from difficult times. They can change their mindsets. They can have a greater appreciations of their life and of the relationships they have in their life. They can develop increased compassion, altruism. They can find a purpose. When we find a purpose, we meet our emotional needs. And when we meet our emotional needs, we feel freedom, satisfaction, and fulfillment. And I believe that's really what we're looking for in life. And then we can sprinkle on a little bit of joy in there too. We learn how to use our personal strengths. We can have spiritual development, and we can be more creative. So I just want you to keep, here's my first tangent of the day, the idea of toxic positivity, and just be aware and reflect and observe right now, because there's a lot of messaging being bombarded right now for us in the New Year's, like the New Year's messaging on social media, on the news and the media, right? Maybe from friends, maybe from other people that are setting New Year's resolutions, right? Just keep in mind the idea of tragic optimism instead. How can I set intentions or set my yearly theme, which is what we talked about in our New Year's workshop yesterday? How can I set my intentions or set my yearly theme with hope in mind, with the underlying foundation that I can grow and change and become more connected? So just catch yourself if you're in a moment of toxic positivity. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here because many of you have been coming to Letting Go class for over a year now, so you know. So pass this message on, right? Just catch yourself if you find you're avoiding things through trying to use that positivity thing, okay? So just a gentle reminder, everyone. A gentle reminder that hope is more powerful than positive vibes. That's all you have to remember. Hope is more powerful than positive vibes. And I think this time of year, or maybe every time of year, positive vibe messaging is out there a lot, but hope is the most powerful thing. Hope is what guides us to personal growth and change. So grab a pen and paper if you haven't yet. I thought today we would do a little reflection exercise on 2022. So yesterday we did it a little bit in the New Year's workshop. And if you didn't come to the New Year's workshop, the recording is up for you, but I'll just give you like a quick overview. We talked about how when we set those year-long goals or those really long goals, we're usually setting ourselves up for failure. Has anybody ever set a year-long goal and achieved it? If you have, you're in the 8%, because 92% of people that set New Year's resolutions that are for the entire year don't achieve them. 92%. So we talked about instead creating a theme for the year. And what's your theme for the year? Your theme is like your guiding light. If you like to look up, if you're a person that likes to think about sky and looking up into the trees, you can call it your guiding light, or you can call it your grounding principle, right? So it's either your guiding light for a year, like your North Star for the year, or your grounding principle for the year. And when you decide on what your theme is for the year, you can set monthly goals or weekly goals based around that theme. And it's always going to make sure that you stay with your intention for the year instead of I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 6 months. Right? Or I'm not going to eat sugar this year. Has anybody ever tried that? Do you know how hard that is? Right? But if you make a theme for your year that is maybe, trying to think of themes that I've done before. Last year was a building year for me. And was it ever? It was a building and being kind to myself. And last year, as many of you know, I had my surgeries, I had to build my business. And that was my theme for a year. And it kept me grounded when I maybe started to panic or worry about, oh my gosh, what's happening, right? Building momentum could be a theme. Or another theme could be hydrating your spirit. I had a friend that had that one and I just loved it because we use the word nourishing a lot or nurturing, but I love the word hydrating. Isn't that cool? So thinking about a theme for your year. So if you want to go through a whole process of figuring out what your yearly theme is and you didn't come to the workshop, check out that replay because I go through a whole process of asking questions and those sorts of things for that. But it's nice to reflect on the last year as well. And when we reflect on the year behind us, we observe it and observe ourselves, it can actually give us hope for 2020, for the next year, for 2023. It can give us hope and we can learn by observing and reflecting, and it can give us a better direction, which is the first step in creating your yearly theme anyway. So grab a pen and paper, everybody. I'm going to ask you guys some questions to reflect on the last year. This is for you. You don't have to share if you don't want to. If anybody wants to share at any time in the chat box, you can. And there's a mix of like challenging questions and lighter questions, let's just say. So here's your first question, everybody. What was the most important or satisfying goal that you achieved last year? What was the most important or satisfying goal you achieved last year? Just take a minute, write it down. And if you didn't set goals last year and you're having trouble thinking of a goal, just what's the most important thing you did last year that you're proud of? What did you achieve last year? The most important thing or the thing that stands out for you that you're proud of? Okay, I'm gonna give about, for time's sake, maybe 30 or 40 seconds or a minute for each one, but you can always come back, okay? Next question. What was your biggest challenge last year? What was your biggest challenge? It can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be community-based. What was your biggest challenge last year? And it doesn't matter if you overcame the challenge or not. Just what was your biggest challenge? All right, next one. This one's a bit more specific. What area of your life did you not pay enough attention to? And I've given you a couple choices here, and you can choose one of these, or if there's something else that comes out for you, you can write that down too. But choices are physical health, family or relationships with others, being of service and giving, emotional self-care, being in community. I would put along with emotional self-care receiving, because we've talked in the past too about how we're not that great at receiving sometimes, but we're good at giving. What area in your life did you not pay enough attention to last year? You can also write a little bit about why you think you didn't pay enough attention to. What was the resistance for you? Okay. What was your biggest mistake last year? And what is the lesson you learned from it? What was your biggest mistake last year? And what was the lesson you learned from it? And again, this is just for you to write down. If feelings of shame or guilt come up, that's okay. We can learn from them, right? We can learn from them and learn how to prevent those feelings from happening. It's part of our experience. And this is how we grow. So, what was your biggest mistake last year? And did you learn a lesson from it? And just the fact that I see you all writing tells me that you are all self-aware individuals, because this is probably the toughest question to ask, because we have to put our ego aside and admit that we're imperfect and that we all make mistakes. But the important thing is, once we admit them, what can we learn from them? Okay, who do you wish you'd spent more time with last year? Who in your life do you wish you'd spent more time with? One of the answers can be yourself, if you want. Who do you wish you had spent more time with last year? Could be a specific person, could be a group of people. Who is someone that you got to know better last year? Maybe a friend, maybe a community, maybe yourself. Who is someone you got to know better that you actually invested time in? And how did that make you feel? This might be a hard one to answer because there might be more than one, but what was the most fun you had in 2022? What was the most fun you had? The funnest thing you did, because funnest is a word, everybody. What was the funnest thing you did? Or what was the most joyful thing you did? Or what brought you the most joy or excitement? Maybe you have a specific memory. Maybe there was a dinner party that was super fun. Maybe there was spending time with grandkids and you did one particular thing that was really fun. What was the most fun you had? Okay, here's the last one. If you could travel back to the beginning of 2022, what advice would you give yourself? If you could travel back to the beginning of 2022, what advice would you give yourself? So now let's do a little reflection. And you might have the answer based on that last question. What advice would you give yourself? Because these questions are like in an order to kind of get your brain thinking. Let's do a little reflection. I want you to go back and read your answers and circle any words or phrases or sentences that stand out for you or moments. And then as you're doing that, or after you've done that, what do you need to let go of from last year? Did anything come up for you as you were answering these questions? Is there anything that feels heavy for you that you need to release? Or is there a message that you would like to give yourself? Like, it's better to spend more energy focusing on this than this. So I'm going to let go of spending energy on this. Or I'm going to let go of being worried about time. What came up for you from these questions? What would you like to let go of? And that's going to be your focus for today's meditation, today's letting go. So some of the questions guide us towards this, right? What do I want to let go of? Some of those questions, for example, what did you have fun doing? Who did you enjoy spending time with? We've talked about in the past, as you're still writing, I'm just going to talk at you a little bit. We talk about actually in every class about the law of the vacuum, right? When we clear space, when we practice letting go, the law of the vacuum says something will always come in and fill that space. Whether it's physical, whether it's a shelf, or the junk drawer in the kitchen, junk will always come and fill it if we don't choose what we do with that space. And it's the same for our mental clutter or whatever we let go of. So my next question is about filling that space. And I'd love it if you write in the chat box for this one, but again, you don't have to. But based on some of those other questions, what would you like to call in? What would you like to call in for 2023? Or what's your theme of the year? What would you like to fill the space after you've let go of 2022? What would you like to fill the space with? What would you like to call in? And you can be really specific if you want. It can be something tangible. There's no right or wrong answer. You can say money if you want. You can say joy. You can say energy. You can say health. What would you like to call in for this year? And feel free to share in the chat box, because sometimes when we call things in, it's good to tell other people. There's a little bit of accountability there. It's not accountability for yourself, but it's taking it out of the imaginary world in your head and putting it out into the real world, right? And that can be a very powerful thing. Speaking and writing is very powerful. What would you like to call in? I'm no longer going to be a war. I'm ready. Calling in kindness and peace, calling in creativity, calling in fun. I'm calling in fun and joy this year too. I've already decided that one. Joy. Yeah. After a difficult year, letting go of grief. We've got discovering my joy, what makes me happy. So that's like almost calling in a better connection to yourself too, and understanding what fulfills your needs and wants, right? Yeah. Stop overextending. So letting go of overextending. Fantastic. So as we go through, more travel, adventure, bravery. As I can see some themes coming up for this. Sometimes it's fun to make your theme sound like a movie title or a book title too. So I remember the movie from the 80s, Adventures in Babysitting. Whoever said it, Adventures in Bravery, maybe is your theme for the year. Yeah. Hydrating bravery, stimulating adventure, maybe. Yeah, adventure travel. We've got yes. All right. So I want you to keep those things in mind. And keep these sheets of paper, use them to reflect on, keep them somewhere where you can come back to if you need to over the next month, I would say, not any longer than that. As you're kind of figuring out what your theme is for 2023. Then what I would suggest is those reflection pages. If you feel like you're holding on to them, burn them, rip them up, throw them in the garbage. Okay? If you feel like they're preventing you from moving forward, because it can go either way with our reflection pages when we reflect. We can start to ruminate on what we reflected on. And if you find that's happening, get rid of them. But if you're like, oh, this is cool, I'm going to hide them away and forget about them and look at them at the end of the year, then that's another process that you can do with the reflection pages too. But you know how your brain works the best. So do what's going to guide you towards personal growth the best. Support yourself. Okay. So whatever you came up with for letting go, just tell your subconscious brain right now, that's going to be what I want to let go of in today's meditation. Don't worry, it'll do it for you once you talk to it. And whatever you wrote down for calling in, again, just tell your subconscious brain right now, when we get to the abundance section of our meditation, I'd like to focus on calling in these things as part of my abundance. Okay, and your brain will naturally do it as we go through the visualization. So I gave this in the workshop yesterday. I want to give it to you again. Here is a bunch of words that if you couldn't think of anything you want to call in, just let your eyes like glaze over this for the next 30 seconds, and it might stimulate something for you or activate something for you that maybe you want to call in. And I'm going to put this sheet of paper up in the digital download library as well, everybody, so that you can print it out if you want, or you can come back and look at it, whatever you want. But just inspiring words, and you can create your yearly theme from it. You can use it to call things in. It's just kind of nice to have a list of, I think there's 150 I put on here, of 150 inspiring words. Yeah, we've got unapologetic intrigues me. Yeah. 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I think my theme was, I'm going to be unapologetically myself, unapologetically me. And whenever you come up kind of with a theme too, you can always ask whenever you're making decisions in life, anything from clothing you're buying or food you're buying, all the way up to the bigger decisions in life. Is this aligning with my theme for the year? Is this aligning with my grounding principle for the year, or aligning with my guiding star for the year? That's why it's kind of nice to have a theme instead of a New Year's resolution, because we usually set ourselves up for failure with that. So some really fun words here, everyone. Okay, so reminders about the meditation before we do our meditation. Letting go is a practice. Letting go isn't about forgetting, repressing, or dismissing everything that's happened to you as if its impact doesn't matter. And that's where toxic positivity comes in. We forget, repress, or dismiss our experiences or our feelings, and we try to cover them up with the Band-Aid of toxic positivity, right? That's not what letting go is about. Letting go is about accepting what's happened to us, which we've just done. We just did a great reflection on 2022. It's about accepting what's happened to us along with its impact, to learn what you can from it and find peace. And you can insert a different word here than peace. It can be fulfillment. It can be satisfaction. So the letting go meditation is always done as a visualization, because that helps our brain to prepare and teach us how to respond to a situation before it happens. Our brain loves the imaginary world inside of it. We love our imaginary world. And there's a reason it exists, because it's practice for what we're going to do in the real life, or it's a big metaphor or analogy about what is happening in our real life. That's the reason we dream, right? It's the brain processing. So meditation, when we can get into a good meditative state, doing a visualization in that meditation helps guide us the same way dreams help guide us. But we're actually in control of it, versus when we dream, the dream is kind of in control of us. So it's kind of the opposite of dreaming. And the brain can interpret this visualization as practice, as if it really happened. It can believe that it's happened. And then that actually prepares or plants a seed in the subconscious brain to guide your actions, attitudes, and behaviors without you even knowing it. And you will notice that you start to get change happening in your life easily and naturally without even putting too much effort into it sometimes. And that can be really healing. And as a reminder, you don't have to feel fully recovered after one letting go meditation, Part of healing is acknowledging that you're not there yet, but you want to head in that direction, and that you are heading in the right direction by taking small and slow steps. Or perhaps you have a full letting go in one visualization session. You feel totally relieved. You feel the weight off of your shoulders, and you feel like you've let it go and you can move forward. And that's amazing too. Some people process longer, some people process shorter. Everybody's brain is different and magical and wonderful. But the most important thing to remember, everybody, is doing the work is valuable. Whether it's 30 seconds or 40 minutes or whatever it is, doing the work is always valuable. I've said this, I say this about physical activity, but also about doing emotional work. Any movement's better than no movement. That's it. That's the first step for physical activity. 1 minute of movement is better than no movement. And then once you get there and it becomes a habit, more movement's better than a little movement. And it's the same with personal growth. Any kind of introspective work, meditative work, journaling work is better than no work, right? So, and then once you get in the habit of it, you can start to dive deeper. You can peel back so many layers of the onion that is you, right? But doing the work is always important, whether it's 30 seconds or whether it's a year or whatever it is. Doing the work is always valuable. And we always practice. We always follow our letting go practice with an abundance and gratitude practice to fill the space that we've created by whatever it is that we've let go of in our brain, in our mind, in our spirit, in our soul. And remember that abundance is about you, is about acknowledging all the goodness and resources and supports that you have in your life. And gratitude is not about you. Gratitude is an outward practice about giving your energy or your thoughts or your time to somebody else with love and compassion. Okay, so this is a letting go formula, everybody. We're going to do a brain fitness exercise to create a whole brain experience and make sure our left side and our right side of our brain's connected and stimulated and activated. We're going to check in on our basic physiological needs. We're going to do 2 minutes of quiet to just check in with ourselves. Now, we've already done a lot of checking in with ourselves, but in that 2 minutes of quiet, I want you to listen to your inner monologue, because it's probably catching up to all of the reflection you just did. And it's going to maybe say something to you, give you an aha moment, give you a thought. And whenever we hear that inner monologue, it is our subconscious brain telephoning us. It's the only way for our subconscious brain to telephone us, other than the way it guides our actions without us even knowing. But it's a time where we can have a kind of a telephone conversation. Then we're going to do our letting go visualization, followed by our abundance and gratitude practice. I'm actually going to do my favorite one. We're not going to do connect with your midline, everybody. We're going to take your glasses off, everybody. Push your hair back from your ears. Because I think this is a great way to start the new year. All right, everybody, 2 thumbs up. And come to the front of your seat. Make sure your feet are on the floor as well. Who's awesome? This person, me. You're going to take your 2 thumbs, put them at the top of the curl of your ear, 2 fingers on the backs of your ear, and gently move your way down your ear, pulling it out gently. I felt tingling right away until you get down to your earlobe. And when you get to your earlobe, give it a little pinch. Take a big breath. Doesn't that feel so good? I can see it in your faces. It feels so good, right? We feel tingling. We just woke up all of the nerves connecting through our central nervous system up into our brain. So we basically gave ourselves a full body massage and also woke up all of our thinking nervous systems too. Okay, let's quickly check in on our physiological needs, because the body cannot focus on any kind of deep thinking or introspection if we're not meeting our physical needs. So food, are you hungry? Is your tummy rumbling? Maybe you want to grab a handful of almonds or a bite of an apple, something really quick. Water, are you hydrated or overhydrated? If you have to pee, go pee now, because you can't focus on anything if you have to pee. Or if you're dehydrated, Good signs of that are your lips dry? Is your mouth dry? Do you want to sip some water? Are your lips chapped? Do you want to put some chapstick on? I would also say in the wintertime, is your skin dry? Do you want to put some nice skin lotion on? Shelter. Do you feel like you're in a safe physical space where you can really let go and dive deep into your mind? Maybe you want to hug a pillow. Maybe you want to dim the lights. Maybe you want to light a scented candle. Maybe you want to close the door so nobody interrupts you if there's other people in your house. And the last one is sleep. How well did you sleep last night? Are you feeling tired? If you're feeling tired, I would suggest you do the meditation lying down so that your body doesn't have to focus on engaging muscles to keep you upright. So you can really just sink down and relax. Maybe you want to have a pillow under your head or you're on a mat on the floor, whatever feels great for you. You can sit up or lie down, whatever feels great for you. What I also want to say is it's okay if you think you fell asleep or if you fall asleep, your brain is still processing and hearing the meditation. And most of the times, if you think you fell asleep, but you wake up right at the moment when you're hearing wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and come back, you actually didn't fall asleep. You got into a deep meditative state, and your body and brain were really just focusing on the thinking processes that were happening. Okay, so there's no guilt here either way. If you fall asleep, you still heard it. If you fall asleep and you wake up right at the end, you were in a deep meditative state. Or if you're conscious the whole time, that's great too. There's no judgment and no right or wrong way to do it. Okay, everybody, take me to wherever you're going to do your meditation. Make sure you can hear me. Bring the computer with you. Get comfortable. We're going to start by closing our eyes. Just bringing your focus to the top of your head and then down your face. Now scrunch your eyebrows together and unscrunch them and feel any tension release. Wiggle your nose. Feel any tension in your jaw. Is your tongue stuck to the roof of your mouth? Unstick it. Just let your lower jaw hang so your teeth aren't touching. And let any tension melt away. And now bring your focus to your shoulders. Shrug them up all the way up to your ears. Feel if there's any tension there. Take a big breath in. Breathe out. And drop your shoulders into their pockets. And let any tension in your neck or your shoulders or the top of your spine melt away. Bring your focus all the way down your arms to your hands. And I want you to scrunch your hands into tight, tight fists. Notice if there's any tension in your arms or your hands. Take a big breath in. And on the breath out, release your hands and wiggle your fingers. And let any tension in your arms or fingers float out of your fingertips and away. Bring your attention down your body. Place your hand on your heart. Just feel your heart beating for a moment. And just say to your heart, whatever rate you're beating at is fine. You're safe, and I appreciate you. Bring your focus down to your abdominals, your lower back. And squeeze your belly button tight. Take a big breath in and release. And just let your belly hang out. There's no judgment here. You're safe. Just tell those abdominals muscles they don't need to engage right now. They can relax. Bring your attention down to your glute muscles, your bum. Squeeze your bum together. And release and feel all the tension melt away from your hips. Bring your focus down your legs. Squeeze the muscles around your knees. And release. Feel all the tension float away. Bring your focus all the way down to your toes. Scrunch your toes together really tight. Big breath in. And on the release, release your toes and wiggle them. Any other tension from the top of your head all the way to the tips of your toes. Take a big breath in and release it on your breath out. If you want to hug a pillow or wrap in a blanket, I'm going to give you 2 minutes of quiet to just reflect and observe. It can be on 2022, on what we learned in our reflection today. It can be on the last week, whatever you want, but just focus inwards and listen to that inner monologue and see what it has to say. And I'll be back in 2 minutes. Whatever thought you're having, just finish that thought. If anything came up for you that you'd like to release today, just tell your brain, when the time comes, please bring this into my focus, and trust that it will. It always does. I'd like you to focus on the points of contact you have with the earth. If you're lying down, maybe it's your head on the pillow, your back on the floor. If you're sitting up, maybe it's your arms on the armrest of a chair or your bum on the seat, your feet on the floor. Just take a deep breath. And as you breathe out, just sink down into those points of contact. And know that those points of contact are the earth always supporting you. That's gravity holding on to you. Take another big breath in. Sinking down into those points of contact. Knowing that the earth is always holding you in the palm of its hand. You're always supported. It will never let you fly away. You are safe. Just say to yourself, I am safe. It is safe to breathe. It is safe to reflect and observe my mind. I want you to imagine that you're walking on a beautiful path, whatever comes to you. Maybe it's a forest, maybe it's a city sidewalk, Maybe it's on a beach, whatever your mind brings to you. You're walking along a path. You just feel your feet touching the earth as with each step you take. You know that this path that you're on represents your mind, your being, who you are. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? What can you touch? Just enjoy the moment walking on this path with wonder and awe. Enjoy connecting to it. As you're walking along this path, you notice a space up ahead. Maybe it's a clearing. Maybe it's brighter. Maybe it's got more light in it. And you feel attracted to the space, so you walk towards it. As you get closer to it, you notice that there's a table. What's the table made of? What does it look like? What's its shape? And you feel a little bit of tension about this table, but you also know that you're meant to connect with it, to walk towards it. So you do. And as you get to the table, there's a few objects, or perhaps only one. What are those objects? As you're looking at them, you realize that these objects represent the things you want to let go of today. They represent what you want or need to release today. I want you to take a moment with these objects, pick them up one by one. How heavy or light do they feel in your hands? Are they smooth? Are they prickly? Do they have a smell? How do they make you feel? Do they make a sound? And as you interact with each object, say to it, thank you, but I no longer need you. Thank you for the experience. Thank you for the lessons and opportunities, but I no longer need you now. I no longer need you right now. And say to each object, it is done. And as you place each object back on the table, you notice a cord attaching you to these objects coming right out of your belly button. What color is the cord? What is it made out of? Is it rope? Is it ribbon? You can feel it tugging ever so slightly. And as soon as you feel that connection, you know for sure that it is time to let these things go, that they are weighing you down, that they are heavy, and that it's time to release them. And once you have that thought, you look over to the right and there's a pair of golden scissors. You pick up those scissors, you immediately know what to do. You cut that cord. And as you do, the cord breaks into little tiny pieces of light and floats away. And you look at each object, and each object crumbles until they too turn into little tiny pieces of energy or perhaps ash and float away. And you watch them float away until they disappear into completely nothing. And you know that they're gone. Place the scissors back on the table. And you look at the table, you take a step back, and you thank it for holding on to these things for you. You say, thank you. I no longer need you to hold on. And when you do, one leg of the table disappears and that corner falls. Another leg disappears. The next leg and the next leg. Till the table doesn't have a foundation to stand on. And the top of that table crumbles and disappears and floats away till it's completely gone. And in its place appears a comfy, soothing, warm-looking chair. And you feel drawn to it. And you sit down in this chair and it envelops you and you feel safe and comfortable and relaxed and free. And as you're sitting in your comfy chair, a warm, loving, golden light spreads from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. You feel your muscles relax as this light washes over you, surrounding you and protecting you, just as the chair is surrounding you and protecting you. You take a few deep breaths. And in the safe, relaxed state, you start to reflect on all the things that you have in your life that make your life joyful, safe, abundant. All of the resources you have, and all of the possibilities for abundance that you have as well. What would you like to call in? Loved ones, breath in your lungs, sunshine, fresh air, the internet, your computer, your telephone, all the ways you have as resources to connect to yourself, to community, to the earth. Whatever comes to mind. As each thing comes to mind, say thank you. Thank you for making my life abundant, full of possibility and opportunity. Thank you for making my life abundant and fulfilled. As you're realizing all the abundance you have in your life, and as you're feeling connected to yourself, to the earth, to the world around you, you feel safe to call in the abundance you would like to see in your life. And you place your hands on your heart. You acknowledge the love that you have for yourself. You say to yourself, I am choosing to have hope. I choose to use my personal strengths to have a hopeful and joyful worldview. I am valuable to the world, to community, to the people I love. Just rub your heart and say to yourself, I am loved. Now I would like you to set your intention to a person, or perhaps a place in nature, perhaps an animal, a pet, that you would like to focus your gratitude meditation on today? What do you love about them? How do you want to make them feel? What would you like to tell them to make them feel that way? Tell them now. I want you to imagine there's a beam of light coming straight from your heart that carries this message. What color is it? What energy does it carry? What message does it carry? And imagine that beam of light traveling all over the world or the universe to wherever this person, place, or animal is. And imagine that it's reaching them and touching them right now. And know that it is, and that they are receiving your message. And wrap your arms around yourself. Imagine you're giving them a hug. Say to yourself, I am grateful for this person, place, or animal. I am grateful for. May you be well. May you be kind to yourself. May you be joyful. May you be safe and at ease. Just release your arms and place your hand on your heart, where you give yourself that same compassion and gratitude. May I be well. May I be kind to myself. May I be joyful. May I be safe and at ease. When you're ready, you can give your heart a rub. You can start to wiggle your fingers. You can wiggle your nose, bring your focus down your body, wiggle your toes, wiggle your eyebrows. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come on back to the call for our checkout.